Hi, and welcome to HUR at Home. It's music night, and it's also our road to 50. We are celebrating 50 years of WHUR. Oh my gosh. And so, what better way to do that than to bring on the people who have made it what it is today? You know, all of our listeners have made it what it is, and all of our on air talent, behind the scenes talent. Tonight, oh my gosh, I could not wait because you're going to see some faces and hear some names that you haven't heard in a while. But here's one that you hear every single night because you listen to the original Quiet Storm, and this is our host of the original Quiet Storm, John Monds.
Oh, I get to jump in first tonight.
You get to jump in first because you know what? I love the fact that you are multitasking. You're on the air. Oh my gosh, how you doing, John?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. Happy belated birthday to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I'm still celebrating. It's still October. I'm still celebrating.
All right, a couple more days.
A couple more days. I'm getting it in. So, you know what? While we're talking about the Quiet Storm, let's talk with a legend on the original Quiet Storm. He's been holding it down for a long time. The king of the weekend original Quiet Storm, Mansy Pullen.
How you guys doing?
Doing
excuse
great.
Excuse the blurry camera. I'm in the media room and all kind of things are going on in here. We're at the Wizards.
That's all right. I still see your face. You looking good.
Thank you.
All right. While we're bringing in all this nostalgia, wait until you see who else is here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this woman has been all over the news department, and from back in the day. One of my favorite people. I just love her so much. I'm so happy that we're still in touch with each other. Karen Campbell, come on in here, lady.
Hey, I'm going to say good morning because that's what I'm used to saying when I'm on the air. But since it's not morning, I'm just going to say it's great to be with everybody.
We all know you as doing the news in the morning. And yeah, what great years. I can't wait to hear all of our stories. And you can't talk about the news department at WHUR without going way back. And he also held it down for many years. Kojo Nnamdi, one of the first voices I heard in DC. Hey, Kojo.
Hey, so happy to be here. Absolutely feeling wonderful that you actually remembered me.
Who can forget? What are you talking about?
It's been so long ago. The children and grandchildren have been born since then.
Oh my! Yeah, you
started.
started a while ago. We're going to get into everybody's origins at WHUR, but you know what? I saved someone who I know people are going to flip out when they hear this voice. I mean, her voice is just like a saxophone. So let's bring her in, my girl, Candy Shannon. What?
Angela, my goodness. When I shared with colleagues that I was going on your program this evening, they went, oh, Angela's Stribling. Seriously. What a voice. So
listen.
I'm honored to be in everyone's presence, honest to goodness. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. I am all smiles that all of you could make it. Now, is that everybody? I know we've had so many people backstage. I think I have everybody on here, and we're getting love right away. You know, Marcella, hello, WHUR family, smiles. Sonia, Isabella, love the original Quiet Storm. Isabella joins us from Dubai. And that's a long way away. I'm always happy when she's on. So first of all, welcome everybody. This is not a road to 50 without you here. So welcome. How's everybody doing?
Great.
Doing well.
Fine.
I'm glad to see everyone doing well, you know?
I feel like a spring chicken with all these folks who have been around for so long. You know? Even though I don't think I'm a spring chicken, I think we're all in the same group here.
Yeah. Well, you know what, John? It's funny that you say that because, you know, what seems to be the typical WHUR way, we're there, we go away, we come back, which was my story, and I know it's your story too. So, John, when did you start the first time at WHUR?
First time, 2001, came in to do mornings with TC and Monique. the Monique part didn't work out. So after the first year, we brought in George Wilborn, who I've been working with in Chicago for the past 8 years prior to that. And I did about 2.5, 3 years, and then the Steve Harvey decision came around. So that spot disappeared. So here we are now, 20 years later, and a little less than 20 years later, but in a different day part.
WHUR family forever. Well, we're talking about the Quiet Storm. Mansy, let us know your history. When did you start with WHUR and talk about your journey?
Sure, Angela. For me, it started back in 1981 during my sophomore year at Howard University. I was working at WHBC, the student station, doing a show called Music for Lovers Only. And I used to write the traffic reports for Jesse Fax for his afternoon drive show. And one day, one of our colleagues who actually does the pictures for us, Rick Montgomery, couldn't make it on a Friday night because he was a student at Hampton and he was doing the Friday night show. So Jesse put me on, and I was nervous because Melvin, as you know, was hosting the Quiet Storm, and I wanted to make sure I was on time. I did not want to be late.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's how I started back in 1981 doing Friday nights after Melvin Lindsay.
Oh my goodness, we're going to save the news for last. So, all right, Candy, I remember you and Jerry Bledsoe holding down mornings. Talk about when you started and your journey at WHUR.
Yeah, I'm 1989, if I recall correctly, and I was, boy, that was a thrill. HUR is a legend, was then, is now, and I had that opportunity to join Jerry in the morning. HUR is commercial radio, so as all of us can attest, it has ups and downs for the staff, which for me, I think it was a full 5 years before Jim Watkins called me into the office before my shift and said, "It's not you. We just want to change."
Okay. when a conversation starts with that,
Yeah,
it doesn't end well. It's not you, it's me.
Yeah. I don't think I cried till I got in the car. But funny thing he said to me, he said, "You'll be back. You'll be back." And I'm looking around, and of course that was something that has happened for so many. But my coming back to campus was at the school where so many of you started as students at Howard. I get to work with students at Howard, including
Beautiful.
The current general manager of WHUR, including Melvin's nephew, Kyle Murdoch, including, oh my goodness, Angie was a student at Howard that I had the opportunity to teach. So,
Nice.
so I'm enjoying it. But
You're back.
Yes, so I'm back. I'm going to share one quick thing. I often ask students, "What's your favorite radio station?" And what do you think I get? I get blank looks, folks. Let me tell you. They all kind of go, okay, you're in the car with your folks in the morning, go, "Oh yeah, radio." So long live radio, people. It can get digital all at once, but radio, yes, it's radio.
Radio number one in my book.
Yes.
Yes, growing up, I just remember if I wasn't listening to the radio, I felt like I was just missing out on what's going on in the world.
Exactly.
It was air. It literally was air. Kojo, you might be, I had George Wilborn and Tony Richards on here about 2 or 3 weeks ago. We laughed the entire time, which of course, John, as you know, with George Wilborn around, you can't help but laugh.
Right.
But, they were going back and forth, calling each other the OG of the radio station. But it just might be Kojo Nnamdi. I mean, when did you start, right? I mean, that's a wonderful
It's entirely
title.
possible. I started in 1973 when the station had about 10 listeners, and after I became a member of the staff, that meant they only had 9 listeners. But we had this program called The Daily Drum that advertised itself as 3 hours of news, music, and information. But in those days, the station had a format that was more like a Pacifica station because our initial general manager had come from Pacifica. And so during these 3 hours of news, music, and information, the news and the music and the information could drop in anytime. It was just not scheduled. It just kind of happened. And after Robert Taylor became the news director, we decided that the news product we were producing was good enough to have people focus on it. So it couldn't any longer just drop in anytime. We had to format it in such a way that people would know exactly when news was coming, and that's how the Daily Drum as a newscast was created, because it started out as these 3 hours of anything happening at any time. The other thing the other quick story I wanted to tell was that one of the reasons HUR became so popular, of course, had to do with Melvin Lindsay and the Quiet Storm. But when Melvin started, he was a student intern. And we went on strike, the news department, in 1975. And our then general manager, Kathy Liggins, now Kathy Hughes, had this young student who was so good that she had him doing newscasts while we were walking the picket line outside, and he was so good at it that it became apparent that he had radio professional written all over him. And then one year, Karen will remember this very well, we had a talent show, a gong show. Karen, Melvin, and I decided we would do an act together.
Oh my God.
We went to Melvin's apartment every night and rehearsed faithfully.
We did.
Then when we finally did the show in Crampton Auditorium, Melvin got wronged before we got a chance to come on. It's like, come on, man.
Oh, that's messed up.
Isn't that true, Karen?
It is. Do you remember Melvin had this glass patio door, and we were practicing. I got so into the song, I walked right into his door.
Oh. Oh, wait a minute. Back up a little bit. Did you say Melvin got gonged before you guys got to do your
Yes,
bit?
we did.
Why?
He went on first, and he was a wonderful air personality, but he couldn't sing.
He could not sing a note. But Kojo and I could
He
sing.
really wanted to sing.
Yeah.
He insisted on singing.
And what
why were you guys
Diana
singing?
Ross song?
Say that again.
If Melvin chose the song, it was.
I don't remember what the song was.
That is hilarious. Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? Stick with radio. It's better. So, Karen, when did you actually start? And talk about, I mean, you did so many things in the news department.
I
Give us your
an intern.
history.
I came to the station as an intern in 1975, 76. And it wasn't long before I was on the air. I think Kojo Curtis Crutchfield and I were the first students that the then general manager, Robert Taylor, decided to put on the air. We were under the tutelage of people like Kojo and Sondra Ratley and who else is in it? Ben Dudley and
Ivy Young.
Yeah, Ivy Young, definitely Ivy Young. Just a lot of really seasoned folks, and we were interning. And before I knew it, Robert Taylor called one day and said, I need you to pick a Saturday or pick a Sunday, one of those days, and Curtis is going to do the other day, and you're going to do our weekend newscast. And I think I did that for a few months before, and Kojo helped me with this. There was a guy, I can't remember his name, he was doing the news at 11 o'clock. We had an 11 o'clock newscast.
Ben Johnson.
What was his name? Ben Johnson?
Ben Johnson.
Yes. And he didn't show up one day, Mansy's story, right?
Yeah, Ben did that
Didn't make it in. And I called the GM and said, what do we do with the newscast? Because I was writing for it. And he said, you do it. And right after that, I found myself doing mornings with Jerry Phillips.
Okay.
Not his but as his air personality. And had several what I call morning men after that. It was Jerry Phillips, it was Jerry Bledsoe, it was Jesse Fax. There were hosts of folks where we did news there. Covered a couple of beats. I think the first beat Kojo gave me was a labor beat. And then there was the district building. So I got to cover the early administrations of Marion Barry.
Wow.
And covered Capitol Hill briefly. And
she covered Marion Barry so well that he gate crashed her wedding, but that's a whole nother
yes.
story.
That's true.
We're family now.
That's, you know, he's gonna tell all the dirt. He's gonna tell all the dirt.
I love it. I mean,
we covered the Republican National Convention in New Orleans. You remember that, Kojo?
Oh, sure did.
Yeah, we covered a lot of stuff together. But the thing I remember most when I think about Nnamdi is the time that we did the Daily Drum and Insight.
From 3 hours, and now it's 30 minutes, but still very impactful. So could each of you just kind of paint the picture when you were on, just what the vibe was like with, as you know, WHUR is the community station. It's all about the viewer, and it's all about us getting out into the community. So when you were on, just what it was like, if you could paint the picture, like getting out, you know, in DC, you know, it was Chocolate City when most of you were on the air. Just talk about the relationship that you had with your listeners, if anything comes to mind, any stories.
The thing I remember really, in fact, the only thing is the Thanksgiving broadcast that we would go do live. And it was an HUR tradition. It's gone now, right?
It's not gone.
It isn't.
Food to feed.
Yep.
Oh, good, good. Because for having been in radio a while, that was always I can think of John Turner. Oh my goodness, you're making me remember people, and being live on the air with people coming up to you. That was always exciting.
Yeah, Patrick Ellis and Jerry Phillips were part of the early Thanksgiving broadcast. Jerry Phillips had a favorite community member named Ma Green, and she had something to do with us starting that tradition. And Patrick then came in and kind of took it over for many years. And I think Candy made a very important point earlier, and that is about asking people what they listen to. WHUR is the only station that I know that is legacy radio. People listen to it through generations.
Yeah.
They listen to it because their parents and their grandparents listen to it. It's a standalone station. It's never been a part of anybody's complex of stations, but it's legacy radio. People listen to it because they have a particular community attachment to WHUR, and that continues to this day.
Amen.
Yeah, you were talking earlier about the news department, and I was trying to think of some of the things I remembered about that will always be with me and help to shape my thinking, shape my future, shape anything that I did since HUR. And that was the diversity, not just of our coverage, but the diversity in our newsroom. We had reporters from the Caribbean. We had reporters from Africa. We had reporters from Latin America. We had people who were living the stories that we reported. If you wanted to localize it, I grew up in Southeast DC. So a lot of covering the local news and covering the district, I understood the issues. And so the opportunity to be able to report stories from that perspective really, to me, was history making, and absolutely the word that comes to mind most immediately is unique.
I love it.
We stood alone with that.
But there was such a sense
Quiet
of
storm,
community.
gents.
Such a sense of
Yes,
community.
such a sense.
Because the facility in which we were located was a facility that lent itself to everybody running into each other. I mean, I knew Mansy before he even went on the air. And you get to know these people and you get to be around them. So it was like, there was not really any sharp distinctions between the news department and public affairs and programming and the specific music programming that we did. Everybody would meet. Sometimes we'd all meet in the music library.
Yeah.
There was this very strong sense of community at the station that I'd like to believe still exists today.
Oh,
Oh,
it
it has
does.
to.
It does. Wow, remember the music library?
Oh,
Oh my
Yes.
gosh. Oh my gosh, all those albums in there. Oh God, that was so much fun. All right, John and Nancy, you're not off the hook.
I kind of came in the kind of the transitional period. Like when I said I came here in 2001. My career pretty much, I'd already been doing this for 20 years and was nationally syndicated and worked in LA and New York. So a little different than everybody else who kind of got their start here. But when I speak of the transitional period, that's when the neighborhood started to change. So we were sitting here one morning and Monique jokingly said, pretty soon they're going to be drinking Starbucks and walking their dog.
She was right.
2 weeks later, I don't know where they got this
Wow.
from, but they were walking their
Right
dog.
up the street.
Now it's amazing now. I mean, to come back, and to sit in the same studio that I left in 2003 and to look outside, Chocolate City, no more.
Yeah.
So it seems.
Swirl. It's more swirl.
Right. It's crazy. I mean, that's the craziest part for me to see the city just change over.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
20 years,
And Mansy, when you're out in the community, I just with our viewers and with your listeners, just the vibe from then and now. Any stories that you can share?
Oh, the vibe has always been great. But Angela, actually, I remember when I first met you, and you may remember this. This was when Melvin Lindsay had just gone to WKYS, and we were all at a event that Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard were having.
Oh my God.
And
Yeah.
Donnie Simpson came up to me because Melvin had been on for a while, and he says, "Yeah, we coming at you guys. We've got the deep pockets." Donnie's always funny. He's always going to joke. And that's when I met you that particular day. And I was, just like I said, I was
Wow.
straight out of Howard University, so none of this really made a whole lot of sense to me. I was just on the air having fun because I would come in with albums in a suitcase because I never knew what I was going to play. I never knew. It was all about emotion. The show was never programmed, so it was just whatever you were feeling. That's what we went with. And so it's been a great story. So the listeners remember that from then until now, and I still get stories from kids that their parents listen and they still remember the songs that their parents listened to way back in the 80s.
Yeah,
Way
I
back
do
in the
remember.
Yeah,
Way
I
back in the
remember.
80s
Way
and
back.
before. The parents way back.
I know.
But Mansy, that was an amazing event. I remember I
It
met
was. Yeah.
Muhammad Ali there, and actually
Yeah.
we became really good friends.
Yes.
And, but for me out in the community from back in the day,
Mhm.
everybody comes up and they're always telling me their favorite DJs, and
Mhm.
almost everybody gets mentioned. People want me to say hi to so-and-so as if we see each other every day. They think we all live together. They're like, oh yeah. And whenever I would sit in on the Quiet Storm, now both of you guys, know this, there are some women who are Quiet Storm brides, I don't know. But whenever I'm there, the phones light up, and my job is to pass on to Mansy, tell Mansy, or pass on to John, or whoever I'm sitting in for. Oh my gosh! But the love is real. I mean, they really,
We appreciate
and
that,
not just the
yeah.
Quiet Storm, but it's people really feel like we belong to them. I mean, and to a certain extent, we do. I mean, we're
Yes.
doing this for our listeners, and they take it very seriously, and I take that very seriously.
Indeed.
Right? I mean, that's a very
Yes.
unique
I think that's
relationship,
another
right?
thing that makes it
Mhm.
unique about being at HUR. You talked
Yeah.
about the relationship between whoever's on the air, whether we had a sports department back in the day, so whether
Yeah.
it was sports or news or music, even if whatever capacity you worked in the station, you connected with somebody in the community, especially because, as you mentioned, the station has a history of doing so many community things. I mean, we talked about Project Harvest, now Food to Feed, but there was also, and you remember it, I remember it, the Border Baby-thon, the Caribbean Experience, even Jerry Phillips, what was it? Don't Worry, Be Happy. when we went out and had the popcorn machine. We went out in the parking lot. Kojo might remember that. And we went out every Friday, and we gave the listeners bags of popcorn after the show, and they all came and expected that. Don't change it.
Where's my popcorn?
I remember when the Ringling Brothers parade came to town, and remember Georgia Avenue Day, and we got to ride. Linda Reynolds and I got to ride elephants to bring the parade down Georgia Avenue.
I remember Georgia Avenue Day.
The experiences that we've had will bind us forever.
And the person
they'll bind us not just to each other.
And the person who was there from the very beginning, who I guess it was Clint Walker, nicknamed Captain Fantastic.
Oh yeah,
Captain Fantastic.
Jim Watkins, who built the station, even as he was just emerging from his teenage years, and as a result of his youth and his skill, that's why he was nicknamed Captain Fantastic. Clint Walker used to routinely pick him up and drop him in the trash can.
What?
He was twice Jim's size.
I would say, having worked for a bunch of the broadcasting companies, this is by far the best place to work of any place you could work, in all honesty.
I can second that. Absolutely.
Me too. I feel the same way.
Yeah.
But that's HUR, I think, it epitomizes why radio is so important, because it is tied to the community to which it broadcasts. There's no such thing as a national radio station. There might be a satellite station. There could be, well, of course, now we're internet, but that's still a broadcast station. They're all licensed to localities. And so far, WHUR has stayed true to that mission. I hope that helps it last, and all good broadcast radios last. People can listen online, but they're going to find out what it's like to be back home in the DMZ.
Yeah, that's so true, Candy. So well said. And so many times people say they're streaming WHUR, and it's just reminding them of home, because they might live in another city, but we're kind of the lifeline, right, to bring them back to the DMV. And David, you're saying it so well. David just said, you all belong to us. It's the great listening music, politics, events, and community services, WHUR Radio, WHUT TV, Black History. Thank you. Well, that's a great way for us to end this conversation. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to do this. Nobody said no. You all said yes, and showed up fully, giving your wonderful stories, yet again giving to your listeners. Could we do this? Could we bring you on just one by one and just shout out to your listeners, whatever you want to leave them with, and your social media, if you're on social media, just whatever you'd like to say, starting with you, John.
I'm on every night, Monday through Friday, 7:30 till midnight. I'm always here, so you know where to find me. That's easy.
Okay, that was pretty easy. And since we're doing the Quiet Storm, I've got to bring on Mansy Pullen.
Thank you. And I just hope you can join me on Sunday evenings from 7 p.m. to midnight as we reminisce a little bit on the original Quiet Storm on the weekends.
I love it. We got some good-looking guys doing the Quiet Storm. So, they say you've got a good face for radio. These guys have a good face for radio, TV, StreamYard, here for you, HUR at home. All right, let's bring in my girl, Karen Campbell.
I want to first say thank you to HUR and thank you to Angela Stribling for having me once again. Thanks to HUR and to Howard University for giving me the opportunity of nearly 20 years on the air with experiences that I would never, ever have. And then finally, I want to thank the mentors like Kojo and like some of the other people that I mentioned who gave me just awesome opportunities. And I want to thank the listeners who are my friends. When my first child was born, it was recorded on cassette tape, run down from Hospital Center to the radio station and Jessie played her first cry on the air. That's how close we are with the listeners. So I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for all my best friends, my lifetime friends at HUR. And just want to say thanks. I am currently, and have been for the last 20 plus years, the Director of Communications for the Prince George's County Council. So I'm right next door. We listen to the station. We're very proud of our relationship with folks at the station. And if you ever need anything in Prince George's County and you're having some difficulty, give me a call. You can reach me on Facebook, Karen Campbell. I'm right there. I'm connected with a lot of you already, and I invite you to connect.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Wow. You got me in tears over here, Karen. All right, I'm not going to cry, but I will bring on, let's see. We'll keep the news people together. Kojo Nnamdi.
Angela, thank you so much for inviting me to be on this broadcast. I left WHUR in 1985, but let the record show that my heart never left WHUR. WHUR means so much to this community and to me. As someone indicated earlier, when people go away from this town, one of the things that helps them to remember this town and what life is like in this town is WHUR, the quiet storm, and all of the experiences that they and their relatives lived through the airways of this station. So we carry this in our hearts. When students leave Washington, D.C. to go to school in other places, they carry their affection for three things: WHUR, the quiet storm, and go-go music.
Mm-hmm.
We are all institutions in this community because we carry it in our hearts forever. So thank you very much.
Wow, so beautifully said. Thank you so much. And all right, to wrap it up, Candy Shannon.
Again, I do thank you, Angela, for allowing me this time. And Kojo, of course, has continued what he began at HUR. And I think there's a Kojo in the community coming up pretty soon, Kojo. You were invited to remind us. You're still out here doing what you do. And I have had a long broadcast career, and I'm honored to say that there was a slice of that here at WHUR. But my career does continue, and it's getting late for me because I'll be on air in the morning from 5 a.m. until 8 a.m. at the Pacifica station in the market to the left. And actually, I have able to play what I like, which is something that in my day in commercial radio, it never happened. You were blessed, Mansy. But HUR was always a very special place, still is, and I still listen. So thank you for all that you do.
Wow. Thank you so much, Candy. On behalf of Candy Shannon, Mansy Pullen, John Monds, Kojo Nnamdi, Karen Campbell, our producer, Robin Akinwele, and I've got to shout out the people who have made this whole thing happen. Sean Plater is our general manager, and he's the one who created this whole Let's Talk to WHUR family, past and present, on Thursdays. So shout out to Sean, shout out to Steve Robinson, the deputy general manager, shout out to our program director, Al Payne, and everybody behind the scenes who you don't get to see on this platform every Thursday. This is just wonderful, and we really appreciate all of the listeners and our viewers who are taking the time to check us out. So we're doing this. Our 50th anniversary is coming up early December. So building up to that, we're talking to WHUR fam. Isn't this great? I'm loving every minute of it. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for keeping us your number one radio station in the DMV. 96.3 WHUR. Make sure you follow us on social media. That's at WHUR-FM on all platforms. You can follow me too while you're at it, at Angela Stribling. And we do this. We do this whole HUR at Home platform almost every day of the week. So go to WHUR.com and make sure you find out what we've got going on. Have a great night.